Yeah.
All right. So welcome everyone. This is Relax Teams. We are having our first Lunch and Learn from 2021. We hope you find it exciting and interesting. Our focus today is on goals, and we have two panels with some excellent speakers on each panel to cover what it is as far as formulating and setting goals, and then a second panel on how to reach those goals and make sure you maintain them. So without further ado, I'm going to start by letting each one of the first three panelists introduce themselves. I'll go in order and give them a quick chance to introduce themselves, who they are, and why it makes sense to listen. So we'll start ladies first. Desiree, you want to go ahead and introduce who you are and what you do?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Desiree Halleck, and I'm the owner of Clarence Services, which is a marketing agency for startups and small businesses. And just a little bit about my background. I've been doing this for about 1.5 years now, broke out on my own. And I was a marketing executive for about 7 years prior to that, and kind of did marketing my whole life, but took a break to do neuroscience in the middle. So I know it was kind of a 180, but I believe that that's why I'm more analytical with my marketing approach. My decisions are more based on data than just sort of, thinking up ideas. And that's why it's so successful, with Clarence and all of my clients. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Excellent. Chris, do you want to go next and tell everyone about yourself?
Great, Dennis. Thank you. Yes, Chris Nichols. I'm a financial advisor. I'm with a firm called Stonehill Financial. And effectively, my focus and our focus is working with households and small businesses that are doing well, but maybe they have questions or concerns on their own financial planning. So we have a lot of innovative strategies and really take a holistic approach. My commentary today on goal setting really will focus on the personal side, not so much on that business side. Thank you, Dennis.
And luckily, I think we have that covered with our next panelist. So Jonas, we want to introduce yourself, who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Jonas DeVita. I am the owner of Access Commercial Door. We're a commercial door and hardware company. We've been around for a little over 30 years. I'm actually relatively new to the business. I wound up buying the company about in the middle of 2018 after a career in media and advertising sales.
Excellent. Very good. So we're going to start asking, we're going to give each panelist a chance to answer the same question. So I'm going to start out with the first question. Before we can get started on how someone can actually set the goals, let's discuss the importance of goal setting and why is it important to set goals. And we'll continue in the same order. You want to go, Desiree?
Sure. So, I'm going to speak more from a marketing perspective on my piece, and in also in everyday life and from a marketing perspective, it's obviously important to set goals because you need a way to measure your success. And one way of doing that really is just writing them down. So it's important, there are days where I just don't have my agenda next to me to write down even my tasks that I'm supposed to do every day. And even though I may have gotten a lot accomplished that day, I actually feel unaccomplished because I didn't check anything off a list, and I didn't, I wasn't organized. There was no sort of order in which I was completing my tasks. And so I just feel like it's for, accomplishment, a sense of accomplishment in both personal and business.
Excellent. Chris, what is your thoughts on that question?
Yeah, so really why goal setting? Again, I'm focusing also on the personal side of things. And when I say personal, that might be things like it could be health related, right? Diet or exercise or other. It could be financial, it could be spiritual or other relationships. So that could be any number of things that might be might be personal. And I thought that, given that I've been working on my own goals, this could be an opportunity to share insights and what I found. I've been working out of a book called The Goal Setting Boot Camp. That's been very helpful in helping me to synergize really my personal goals with my business life. But, before we get to the how, I want to talk about some of the whys, right? And I do need to emphasize written goals because these are not necessarily those goals that come up on New Year's Eve when people are enjoying a good time and having a few drinks. These are really written goals that are more deliberate. But in a nutshell, written goals work. Author Brian Tracy stated that people with clear written goals accomplish far more in a shorter period of time than people without them could ever imagine. And so to elaborate on the personal goals, we look at some of the primary benefits of writing down goals. Number one, it really helps you clarify your priorities. It helps you kind of laser focus on those things that are the most important. Written goals can also make you aware of your own strengths and weaknesses. As you're writing the goals down, it's becoming a little more visceral that you're seeing them on paper. But with that self-knowledge, you can focus and emphasize more your own strengths and maybe manage to or strategize those weaknesses or areas of opportunity. The important thing too on having written goals really is also about accountability. It makes you accountable more to yourself and potentially to others. And in the second session, I'll be noting about the accountability partner, but having an accountability partner when you set goals can really be helpful. Written goals can also really help you motivate to achieve higher and higher levels of success. And I like to think of that as kind of snowball coming down a hill and feeding on itself and getting bigger. And when you have written goals and you accomplish them, that can be certainly a rush. But I just want to wrap up this section here with a note, or not with a note, but a quote that was attributed to Michelangelo about goal setting. And it says, the greater danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we reach it. And certainly I've been guilty of that at times myself. So anyway, that's a little information on the whys of goal setting. Dennis, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thanks, no problem. And to reiterate, Jonas, for you, we were just looking to ask, before you started out on how someone sets the goal, let's discuss the importance of goal setting and why is goal setting so important in your environment?
Okay. Well, there's a few different sort of almost like levels of goals in my opinion. I'm a big believer in writing down my daily goals and crossing them off. It definitely helps give me a sense of accomplishment when I'm done, and also lets me know what I need to carry over just from an accountability standpoint. But then there's the overarching goals of like what you want to achieve, long term, this year, next year, for the rest. And and that was what kind of drove me to make a large life change like I did in 2018 to buy a company. And basically got to a point where I knew without having that expressed goal, I was going to keep doing the same thing I was doing. And so once I made that my mission, basically I had to keep myself accountable every day and just follow up and try to take those necessary steps that you need to get there. It's almost like chunking it down, like they say. You have this big overarching goal, whether it's to buy a company. Well, you don't just start off like that. There's different steps you have to make. You have to look at you have to engage people that can bring things to you. Do searching and find out, figure out where your financing is. So there's a lot of different little areas, these little ways of chunking through to that large goal that I found really drove me. And really helps you once you start knocking those things down. It almost starts to pick up momentum and keeps you moving forward. So it's been critical to how I run my day-to-day business, but also in making those types of large changes.
Excellent. And now for the follow-up for the next piece of the question is there are many different ways to set goals. Let's hear from the panelists the process of how the goal setting can go about doing it, whether it is for business or personal. And Desiree, you want to start with that?
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, so as a business, you really want to think about where you want to be. Let's say in 10 years from now, you can use any amount of time, really, but the 10-year mark is really good, especially if you're in it for long term. As a small business, it's very easy to get, I don't want to say lazy, but to not see the importance in setting goals until you start growing and you have a larger team and you need to become more organized. And then it becomes part of your operations and your processes. I don't know if any of you have been a part of larger organizations compared to, being an owner of a small business. And your goal setting in larger organizations is why you're there. You are there because they set goals and because they are documented. So from a small business perspective, the way to do that is to, look at where you want to be in 10 years. And some people are like, well, I know where I want to be, but what KPIs do I use? What measurements do I use to actually understand if I reached that success? And a good way and a simplified way is thinking of revenue, right? Because I mean, most of us are doing this not only because we love it, but because of the money. We want to pay our bills and we want to, survive and do well. And so a revenue goal is good. So let's just say and what you want to do is from that 10-year goal, you want to work backwards. So let's just say you come up with X amount of revenue, let's just say 10 million. Okay. Then you break that down to the 5-year goal. And it doesn't always mean you break that in half because it's, half of 10, but because some, companies grow faster at the beginning and then they kind of plateau later on, but depending on the type of business model you have. But let's just, for the sake of this discussion, say in 5 years, you want to make 5 million, 3 years, 3 million, 1 year, 1 million. And then you break that down to quarters and you break it down monthly. And then what you want to do is, in order to reach, let's say X amount in a quarter, let's just say, 100,000, whatever it is, you need a certain amount of sales in order to do that. And if an average customer brings in X amount of sales or X amount of revenue, then you need, to convert a certain amount of those sales from your leads, right? So this is sort of how you work backwards. And you want to understand what, the lifetime value of a customer and also the average revenue per customer that you're collecting. Because that's going to help you understand, okay, if this is my revenue goal, how many customers do I need in order to reach those revenue goals? And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of companies do not do this. They just completely just shoot for the stars, or they don't set those goals high enough. And then from there, you can use KPIs like, okay, if I need this many sales and maybe 10% of my leads convert into sales, then I need this many leads. And for those leads, and, usually leads are warm, right? They're not just contacts, they're leads. So you need a certain amount of contacts. And then you think about, okay, if in a month I need this many contacts, then how am I going to get those contacts? Will I do it, via email marketing or lead nurturing? Am I going to cold call? Am I going to go to events or virtual events? So that's sort of just an idea of how you can set your goals from a marketing perspective for small businesses.
Excellent. Chris, you want to answer the same question?
Yeah, I'm going to take a little different approach. That was excellent. And what I'm going to talk about here can actually be applied both in business and in personal. But what I want to apply is a formula, and that's called SMART, right? SMART goal setting. And again, we're writing it down. So SMART is an acronym. S stands for specific. M stands for measurable. A stands for attainable. R stands for realistic. And T stands for timely. So if I'm setting a goal, I might just say, you know what, I want to live a healthier lifestyle. Well, that's really vague. That doesn't apply to that whole, or I should say the SMART formula doesn't apply to that statement. Way too vague, and it's probably not going to be achieved unless I write it down and I become very specific and I say, you know what, my goal to lead a healthier lifestyle is to go on a jog or a walk 3 days a week, 45 minutes each time. You can hear that's definitely much more measurable, much more attainable, much more realistic, and it does fit the SMART formula. I can also attach or tie that those activities to other goals. I mean, certainly if I'm exercising, maybe that's tied to managing my blood pressure or reducing or having, trying to get some weight loss. So there's some ideas there just to really help set those SMART goals. But when you're doing a SMART goal, maybe when you have 3, 4, 5 goals, the SMART formula should really be applied to each one. Some other general principles and considerations when setting goals and written goals. Have that accountability partner. This could be a spouse, it could be a friend, it could be other family. But the idea there is to share it with them and then check in with them periodically, and really helps you achieve that goal because you have to, have that conversation. Desiree noted this, but basically, and I think also Jonas, big goals can almost seem very overwhelming. You can break them down into components and go at them much more piecemeal. And as you're doing that, build checkpoints along the way and certainly track your progress. As you're trying to accomplish goals, celebrate wins. Very important to acknowledge yourself, pat yourself on the back, and even, maybe reward yourself depending on the goal and the interval or that checkpoint. And also, if you fall short of a goal, still give yourself the partial credit. It was, an important and valuable effort. Just acknowledge where you are, pick up and move on, knowing that goals can always be revised or tweaked as you're doing this. But hopefully these are some ideas, and especially that SMART approach to help you see the value in having written goals. Back to you, Dennis. Thank you.
And again, just a refresher for everyone, the question we're going to go to Jonas with is there are many different ways to set those goals. So from your perspective and your industry, how is it different and what are you doing?
It is different. What I found is that you set your goals, and then you have to go at it a lot. Basically, it's tied into habits, right? And you really try to develop good habits that marry into those goals. And for like one of the easier ones is like is trying to get and stay in shape, is setting that habit. And so for me, I found it far easier to stick with my goals if I do the same thing at the same time every day. So I get up whenever I get up, like 5:45, and I go downstairs immediately, and before I do anything, I do my little workout, and that really helps me stay on track with that goal. And then at the end of the day, I have a goal of trying to reach new customers and meet new potential prospects. At the end of the day, I have a goal to make to reach out to 2 new people at the end of the day. And marrying, so to me, what's helped is having that goal and then creating a habit around that goal. And that's been a way that I've done it. Honestly, I really like the way Chris lays his out. I think it's a bit more formalized. The same thing with Desiree's. But I think we're all talking about the same thing. So I think it's creating those habits that are going to help you achieve those goals.
Excellent. Does anyone have any questions out there for the panelists? Anyone feel free to unmute themselves or ask questions, or I do have to